How's it going, everyone? My name is Eric Whalen. I'm with Freedom Physical Therapy. I'm going to talk to you today about how to do a Romanian deadlift, which is a variation of a deadlift. The reason why I'm going over it today is a nice starting strengthening exercise to help improve the muscles within your low back, your glutes, and then also for your hamstrings, which is really going to help improve, one, either sport performance, improve low back pain because you're improving the muscles that help stabilize the pelvis and low back. And also it's a very functional movement. It's going to help with, one, bending at the waist to pick objects down from the ground correctly, and also just normal tasks as going up and down stairs, getting up and down from chairs, because it's a basic starting strengthening exercise. What I would recommend though is focusing on form and technique, not so much on weight, as with the majority of exercises you do that are new to you. What I like to start off with is a dowel or a stick. You could also use a broomstick as well if you can remove the end of the bristle side, and then you just have a flat stick. What you want to think about first is setting yourself up correctly. So you want your feet about shoulder width apart, and what you want to think about is having soft knees, or your knees are slightly bent. So instead of having your knees locked out, have a little bend, but you're not squatting down. I'm going to turn from the side so you can see what I mean. So my feet are about shoulder width apart, and then I'm just going to slightly bend my knees. Now what you want to do is holding on to the stick with both hands, try to have it even length so you're not lopsided from one side or the other. And you want your shoulder blades back and down in a nice pinch position. Have your hands near your thighs. I don't want you out too wide, just right at your side like this. And then what you want to think about is starting the movement with bending at the waist. So a lot of people, when they do this exercise, they tend to make it into a squat rather than a hinging motion, which is bending at the waist. So really think about, you're not going to bend your knees anymore. You're purely just going to reach back with your bottom and stick it out. Sounds kind of goofy, but I usually tell people, stick your butt out. Try not to squat down like this, because that becomes more of a squat variation, but also not a very functional squat. So with this motion, keep that nice upright posture with your shoulder blades, looking straight ahead, slowly bend at the waist, let your hands lie down, keeping the bar close to your legs, and let the bar slide down to right about your kneecaps or your patellas, and then come back up nice and slow. As you do this, you really want to also focus on keeping your low back in a flat, neutral position, and what I mean is don't round your back. This is how a lot of back injuries occur in general, not just with weightlifting, but with people just trying to pick objects from the floor. So that's the reason why we're really emphasizing this movement, is it's going to be applicable to also learning how to pick up things correctly from the floor. So with this, go nice and slow, all the way down to your kneecaps, bending at the waist, not necessarily bending at the knees. And what you're going to feel is you may feel a little stretch in the hamstrings. That's all right. In my opinion, that means you're doing it correctly. When you start doing more of a squat, you really don't feel that tension in the hamstrings. So keep the knees slightly bent, and then come back up nice and slowly. Let me do a couple repetitions so you can see how I want you to do it. And so if you're having a hard time with the idea of bending at the waist versus the knees, you can use a wall. So set yourself up right up against the wall. You're leaning against it. Take a small step forward. Same posture and form as before. Slight bend. And then think about, you want your bottom to touch the wall. So touch. So I can only go so far and then I come back up. But what you're teaching yourself is reaching or pushing your bottom back. Now once this small range of motion gets easy, take a smaller step forward. Now you're further away. Same thing. Reach out. Touch the wall, come back up. Do that for a couple repetitions till you get that feel of reaching with your bottom. Do that one more time, step forward. This might be a little further than I want, but you get the idea of you want to stick your bottom out. Now here, I'm really sticking out, really feel the tension in my hamstrings, keeping that same posture and then coming back up. So that's a nice way to teach how to hinge at the waist. And then also you can use, if you do have mirrors available, more full body mirrors, like if you're in the gym, or if you have some at home, I definitely recommend watching yourself in the mirror, because one, you can do a side profile like this and watch yourself bend at the waist, and you get that visual feedback immediately of, no, I'm bending more at the knees than at the waist, so you can really watch your form as you do it with a stick or a dowel, so that way you're really working on your form and technique. When you feel confident with your form and your technique using the dowel, you can start using different weighted devices. This is a weighted dowel, so this is just 15 pounds. What I really recommend is still you want to do low weight, more repetitions. You can start off with 8 to 12 repetitions at a time. Do a couple sets of that, but other than that, don't really focus on the weight, because I really want you to emphasize form and technique and having good control with low weight. So same thing, nothing changes. You set yourself up correctly, feet shoulder width apart, slight bend in your knees, shoulder blades back and down, back is nice and flat, and just let the bar slide down towards your knees, and then coming back up. Also, I really want you to avoid, it's not how far down you go. A lot of people try to go as far down as they can. Some people are more mobile than others, and that's fine. I like to go right at the kneecaps, or maybe a little bit below. The reason why is some people get down here and they have to round their back to get that motion. So that's not necessarily a good thing. I don't really care if you get all the way down to the floor, because ultimately you're putting yourself in a harmful position to hurt your back as well. So this is one way to use a weighted instrument. You could also use dumbbells if you have dumbbells at home or at the gym. So same idea, hold a dumbbell in each hand. These are just 5-pounders. Same exact setup. You want your hands more on your thighs, because what you want to feel is your hands sliding down your thighs like this, same as you would be using the dowel or the weighted bar as well. So nothing really changes. You may have a little more movement with your arms, because you're not holding on, each dumbbell moves independently versus the bar, your arms would have to both move. Nothing wrong with that, just a different way to get the same exercise. And then what you can do to make this more challenging, the next challenging progression is doing a single leg. What I would recommend, this is more higher level exercise to really focus on one leg at a time. Let me have you move the camera back. And so what we can focus on is same exact setup. What you're going to do is have a slight bend in your knee. I want you to hold it in the opposite hand of the leg that you're working. And what you're going to do is you're going to reach down to your opposite knee, kicking your leg back, and then coming back forward. You can have your hand on your hip, or you can have it at your side, whatever helps your balance, or makes it a little bit easier for you. And what you're going to think about is same thing, keeping the back nice and flat, shoulder blades back, slight bend in the knee. Now the difference with this is you're kicking your foot back while you're bending at the waist and then coming back up. So this is definitely a more challenging exercise. Start with no weight as well. You could just use your hands, or you could use the dowel, like so, and reach back with that opposite foot, keeping a slight bend in the knees, back nice and flat, and then coming back up. It's also a good balance exercise as well when you're working on that one foot. I would start off with lower repetitions, maybe 5 repetitions at a time, working your way up to 10. Same thing, very low weight, and do both sides for a couple sets. So that's kind of the basics of doing a Romanian deadlift, but also a single leg deadlift. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.